Good afternoon. I have made it to the East Nine Tombs World Heritage Center right outside of Seoul. It's about an hour away from my house. The complex looks pretty large, so I'm gonna really be moving along here. I only have an hour kind of allotted for this so that I can make it back to deliver my car on time with a slight buffer in order to make sure that there's nothing goes wrong. I just want to make sure, because if there's like traffic or anything, I could get screwed pretty hard. We should be pretty good so far, and this place is a lot larger than I actually thought it was going to be. I saw the map just now at the door, and the place is huge. I guess it makes sense because it's a royal tomb, but like I thought they'd be all real close together and maybe like within 2-3 minutes walk, but looking at what they have, it might actually be quite some time to walk. I might not be able to see all the tombs, so, which, I mean, it is what it is. Because of that, I also decided to forego lunch. I'm like starving. Hopefully on the way back to Seoul I'll be able to find a McDonald's or something and go through a drive-thru. They're not big on drive-thrus here. So, I mean, they're not big on drive-thrus outside of the United States, I noticed. Like, Castro Valley, one of the places that's close to where I grew up at, their claim to fame is that they have more places to eat than you could actually get by. So if you starve, it's pretty much your fault. Here, on the other hand, I think they really appreciate that whole sit down, enjoy your meal type of deal. Because I saw quite a few places where I'm sure the food's quick, but you had to stop, park, and go eat inside. And I couldn't afford that time. Like the time lost from going to the rail park that was sold out, that was a huge hit because that was out of the way. And then it was like I didn't actually do anything there. So luckily, this is actually quite far out of the way as well, like typically for trying to get here from Seoul. The parking situation's pretty crazy again, just kind of like at Sokcho mountain in Sokcho, but I don't know. Let's see what I can find. The first thing I'm coming up against is the tomb keeper's house, so I'll just keep reading and walking, and we'll see what happens. Be back in a sec. Welcome back. I just left the tomb keeper's house. It's kind of an interesting term for that. Right in front of it, there was a little signage that basically just said that the person that lived there had ranking in order to process the bodies of the dead royal family members. And so the bodies would be stored at that house as well while they were being prepared. So it had more to do with the preparation of it, and I mean, the person living there would maintain and upkeep the area. Yeah, that makes sense. But I think it's more important to know, because like royal bodies weren't allowed to be desecrated in any ways. And I'm trying to remember what I read from the other palace that was in Seoul, the Gangchon. Was it that one? Or was it in Suwon? It was in Suwon, the Prince Sado story. So, alright. Looks like I'm coming up to the first tomb here. But just to complete that thought, the Prince Sado story where they weren't allowed to actually kill him by like stabbing or drowning or anything like that, since they weren't allowed to do that against a royal family member. So they starved him to death by trapping him in that box. And that's partially because of the way that you have to treat a royal body after it's been, before and after it's getting prepped for death, I guess. So anyhow, I'll be back in a moment. Let me check this out, see if there's any signage or anything that I could read. It's really pretty, actually. So it's a very interesting tomb. I've not really seen something like this before. Kind of looks like a boob now that I like look at it. I'll let you decide for yourself. Anyhow, I'll be back in a second. All right. So this tomb is for Emperor Munjo, and if I recall correctly, which I might not because I read it real fast, I'm like speed walking here. The big thing here is that typically the king is buried on the right and the queen is buried on the left. But because the King Munjo died at 22 and his son was actually the one that ascended to the throne, his son's grandmother, who was still alive at the time, was the great dowager, is what they called her. And she actually was buried to the right, and the grandson was buried to the left to show the difference in stature. And so that's what's unique about this tomb right here behind me. That's the first tomb. There are 8 more. I am for sure I don't have enough time to visit all 8 of them, but I'm actually coming up on number 2 right now. So we'll be right back. Let me go try to read and see what I could remember of this. Or you know what? Maybe I could just read it to the camera and then I'll go check it out. I think that's the better idea. That way I actually could have a better memory of what's what. Just as a FYI, the pathways to the tombs have there's 2 pathways. And of the 2, the one to the right is for commoners and the one to the left is for royalty. So you have to stay off the one to the left. So this is Hyeolung, the tomb of King Munjong and Queen Hyunduk. Okay, so this is Munjung and not Munju. That was Munju was the other one. So this is the tomb of King Munjong, the 5th monarch of the Joseon dynasty, and Queen Hyunduk of the Kwan clan. Seen from the ceremonial pavilion, the king's tomb is on the left hill and the queen's tomb is on the right. Just like I said, it was the opposite of the previous one. The 3rd son of King Sejong, King Munjong, assisted his father in creating the Korean script Hangul. Oh, cool, yeah. So read about this over at the Gungbokgung, I believe that is, the palace over in Seoul. During his reign, he published the history of Goryeo and the essential history of Goryeo, and also reorganized the military system. Queen Hyunduk was the 3rd consort of Munjong and passed away not long after giving birth to the son, who later became the king, Danjong. Her tomb was built at the present-day Ansan, Gyeonggi-do province. After Myeonjong ascended the throne, she was promoted to queen. Her tomb was named Soryeong. Soryeong. When her son, King Danjong, was posthumously demoted to Prince Nonsun during the reign of King Sejong, Queen Hyunduk was also demoted and her tomb was moved elsewhere. Then in 1513, when she was reinstated as queen, her tomb was moved back here to Hyeolung. So let's go check it out. I'll be back in a moment. And now I'm standing in front of Gunwolung, tomb of King Taejo. This is the tomb of King Taejo, founder of the Joseon dynasty. So this is kind of how like Korea is for most of the ancient stuff that we see in like movies and dramas and stuff. So that's kind of cool. King Taejo ascended the throne in 1392 at Chuncheon Palace in Gangchon. During his reign, he laid the foundations for a new nation, giving it the name of Joseon and moving the capital to Hanyang, which is present-day Seoul. His tomb was built on the site when he passed away in 1408, and in 1899 he was posthumously titled the Great Emperor Taejo. It is interesting to note that the tomb is covered in silver grass. This was done according to King Taejo's will and requesting that silver grass from his hometown of Hamhyung be planted on his tomb. Below the tomb is a ceremonial pavilion, which is National Treasure 1741, and a memorial seal, which is National Treasure 1803. That being said, this was one of the few ones that I actually walked all the way up to the actual tomb. They're all awesome. Like, there's nothing wrong with them. I think I'm going to hit one more before I leave, so I'll hit 4 of them out of the 9. But I really do have to get going. I actually just got a text from the car rental company saying, remember to return your car. They even were kind enough to extend the hours from 5 to 6:30, but I don't want to be driving in Seoul during rush hour traffic. That'll be crazy. And I still need to eat. Like, I have snacks in my little, whatever, front pocket here on my sweatshirt, my hoodie, but I would like some real food. And it's pushing 3 o'clock. Keep getting meals at these weird times. I still have the fried chicken for dinner tonight. That'll be great. But I need to do something about lunch. This place is awesome. It was only $1 to get in. I don't know what people were kind of trying to negotiate at the counter. People are like talking like back and forth. I'm like, the maintenance of this place must cost quite a bit. And it probably is like mainly taxpayers' money that does it, which is fine. But every little thing that you could do to help, I think, would be great, right? And if it's just $1 to get in, it's totally worth it. I spent a half an hour here so far, so to me, that's great. Like, $2 for an hour of entertainment, if you think of it that way, it's good. And by the end, I'll be at 45 minutes, really. So about 90 minutes of entertainment for $2. That's less than a movie is nowadays. And here I come on to the last tomb that I'm going to check out. The other tombs are actually on a mountain, which is kind of cool, but judging by yesterday's performance on timing at Sokcho, I don't think I'll have enough time. And I don't want to misjudge that again. I'm bummed that I went like 3/4 of the way to go see nothing. And then I came back. Alright, so this is Donggureung, the tomb of Queen Chuncheon, consort of King Injo. In this tomb is Queen Chuncheon of the Zhou clan, second consort to King Injo and the 16th monarch of the Joseon dynasty. Queen Chuncheon, who became a consort in 1638, was named the Queen Dowager in 1659 when her stepson King Hyojong ascended the throne. She lived at the royal palace through the reigns of 3 successive kings, Hyojong, Hyunjong, and Sokcho. Upon the deaths of the King Hyunjong and Queen Incheon, a dispute broke out between political factions as to the mourning period that must be observed by Queen Chuncheon. 2 times, actually. This incident is known as the Yosong dispute. The Soin faction Westerners argue that she must dress in mourning for 1 year for King Hyojong and 9 months for Queen Incheon, while the Namin faction Southerners argued that for 3 years and 1 year for the king and queen respectively. The Seon won the first round of the dispute, but the Namin were actually victorious in the second round. The spirit dies in front of the tomb where the spirit is said to come and play has 5 stone supports modeled after King Taejo's tomb that we were just looking at over at King Taejo's tomb, Gangchon, the name of the tomb. The ceremonial pavilion has the unique feature of a colonnade on either side of the gate. Oh yeah, you can actually see it. Anyhow, like I said, this will probably be the last one. I'm running out of time here, so let's go check it out, and then I'll get back to the gate with some final thoughts. Okay, I lied. This literally was on the way back to the front gate. Like, how could I not just stop by and look at it if it's literally on the way to where I'm going? So I'm at the Wulung, which is the tomb of King Yeongjo, the 21st monarch of the Joseon dynasty, and his second consort, Queen Jongsung of the Kim clan. King Yeongjo became Prince Yongin in 1699, became the crown prince when King Yeonjong rose to the throne, and finally became king. During his 52-year reign, he implemented many important policies, such as the policy of impartiality in political appointments, Tangpyeokchak, and the equalized land law tax system, which imposed a ban on luxury and reorganized the system of STSTE. S-T-S-T-E. I have no idea what that is. Funeral rites. However, when he saw his son, Crown Prince Sado, become the victim of a factional strife, Queen Jongsun became the consort of King Yeonjo in 1759 at the age of 15. The young King Sunjo came to the throne, and she served as regent, taking part in state affairs, sitting behind a screen. Wow, so this king actually is the father of Prince Sado that I was actually talking about earlier. So that's kind of neat. It's just an amazing looking thing. You can't actually walk up to the tombs though, that's the only thing. So you could only see kind of make the outlines of the shape. I did walk up pretty close this time and get a photo, but I don't know how well it's going to turn out. Anyhow, got to get to the gate, so check back in a moment. Good afternoon. Obviously, I am not in front of the gate for the tombs. I'm actually standing in front of a crazy mural of one of the members of Twice. Actually, I'm in the middle of Gangnam, and I just realized when I was checking my videos earlier today that I didn't film an ending because I was in a rush. Thinking that I had to return the car by 5 o'clock, I typed in the navigation from the 9 tombs to the car rental place, and it ended up that it was going to take me an hour and a half to get there, and I still needed to get gas. There's a problem with that. I didn't know where to get gas at, so I ended up rushing to go get to get out of there. And in my rush, I totally forgot to film a closer video. That being said, let's go ahead and just close it out. The place is amazing, and I would spend at least an hour and a half there, like 90 minutes. I think is the minimum time necessary in order to be at the tomb comfortably without having to worry about running around. The thing is that most of them kind of look the same. So even if you had to cut it short and bounce kind of like I did, I don't feel that you're missing much as long as you hit the main focuses of the place. As to why I'm here in the middle of Gangnam, there is actually a restaurant that's right there next to the Tsuyi mural that I want to go try. I've actually put my name in. It's 12:30, and interesting enough, man, mosquitoes here are large. Interestingly enough, it's going to take 41 minutes for me to get into that restaurant. So I'm going to go look for a cafe, get a cup of coffee, and then I'll go eat lunch. I'm starving. But yeah. And I've been awake since 8 a.m., if that matters. But anyhow, check out the tombs. They're really cool. An hour and a half minimum. Probably 2 hours in order to actually get like most of it done. And 2.5 hours to see every tomb and walk every one if you wanted to actually do that. Anyhow, I'll see you in the next vid.